Coming up on today's show, well, the fundraising world was turned upside down during the pandemic. Masks have been lifted now. Event venues are opening, yet some people are not quite ready to gather. Well, we're going to talk about how to creatively fundraise as we start to open up.
That you expanded Lianas to offer some pretty relevant new services. So I thought it would be very prudent of you to share what those are.
No, thank you very much, Corrie. Really exciting times for our family. As many of our listeners know, Lianas, so we provide two main services. We help families when they have to navigate trying to get through and find residences, senior living communities, when they want to move from home or their condos. And my wife, Stephanie, as you've heard, she helps with that whole transition with the property sales and that whole downsizing. Well, Erickson Resource Group, so proud that they are now on board with Lianas Senior Transition Support. Stephanie Erickson just ran an incredible organization that did two primary services, elder care planning, consultation, and they have a team of social workers doing what we call psychosocial evaluations for mandate homologations and private curatorships. I know it's really technical, but what it really means is at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is provide support to families and their loved ones through the aging process and navigating their life transition. So very excited about that, Corrie. Thank you for letting me get a little shout out about that.
Well, I look forward to hearing more and more about it because I know that the services are so vital.
Well, thank you.
Just checking in. Can people hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. We're good to go.
We're good. Okay.
So now, what do we have coming up on the second half?
Well, we're going to be discussing the importance of updating our legal documents with notary Nadia Derigi. She's going to be sharing some extremely relevant guidance on that very topic.
Yeah, Nadia is fantastic. We see this very often where, as we age, legal documents need to get updated, but they simply don't for many people. So that's going to be on the second half of the show.
Looking forward to that. But first, I'm looking forward to this. We have Jon Reider on the line. Jon is the CEO and founder of Myras Kids Foundation. We are, and I say we because I am the clinical director of Myras Kids Foundation, we're going into our 6th summer of camp because for camp, this is so important, these services we offer. So it's a free service for children ages 6 to 17. And Jon, how do we do this? Well, Jon spends the better part of his year fundraising for this. And after 2 years of isolation, the team at Myras Kids Foundation has decided we're going in person to raise those funds this year. But there's no question it's not without challenges. So we thought many organizations may be struggling with the same kinds of things. So we would invite Jon to share what the plans are, what the strategies are, what some of the challenges are about planning a fundraiser at this particular present time. So Jon, welcome back to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you, Corrie. Hi, Matt.
Hi, Jon. Welcome back.
Thank you.
So please, first of all, you got to tell our listeners, what in the world is a nice guy like you doing in a profession like this?
Well, my professional life was really on the financial services side, but I decided that I needed to do something on the not-for-profit side, and it was really very personal. My mother died when I was 3 years old, and in the 60s, it was a common belief that you don't say anything to the child who has lost a parent or a sibling. My mom's name was never mentioned, and as a result of that, and as a result of the trauma that I experienced, I vowed to do whatever I could to support children who had suffered the same type of traumatic experience that I did. 6 years ago, I took the first steps to start Myras Kids Foundation. But the first thing that I had to do was find a partner for this little adventure. And so I was very fortunate because I was able to recruit the best specialist in grief in Montreal, and that's you, Corrie. So I was very lucky to get started with you, and as they say, the rest is history.
Jon, I'll reiterate, very lucky, but I think I'm going to add a very smart move on your part too, Jon. Corrie is fantastic and certainly a great choice. Now, Jon, I'm so happy you are able to join us. As you're probably aware, I'm on the board of directors of Nova West Island. For many, many nonprofits and organizations, it's been a real challenge, especially during the pandemic, to raise funds. And I think, and that's why to get your perspective on things will be very helpful for many people. But I want to back it up a little bit for the sake of our listeners. You are the CEO and founder of Myra's Kids Foundation. So can you explain, what is Myra's Kids Foundation?
So Myra's Kids Foundation is an organization that exists to support children who have suffered the loss of a parent or a sibling. We run year-round programs and activities for these children, and we also include their families. We're focused on teaching children how to cope, and what we really try and do is get these children to meet with other children so that they understand that they're not alone in dealing with their grief. Our main program is a 3-day camp in the Laurentians, and as you can imagine, as a result of COVID, we were not able to run a 3-day camp in the Laurentians, so we had to pivot, we had to transition, and the same way that we had to transition with fundraising, we had to transition with the programming as well.
And it's such a heartfelt initiative, especially knowing your personal background. And hats off to you, how you've grown so much over the years, and with Corrie's support as well. And you talk about being grown. Maybe Corrie, I'll throw this one over to you for a second. You've been there since the beginning, and you've changed over the years, that's for sure, and grown over the years. Can you give a little background on that growth?
Sure, my pleasure. Jon mentioned that we have expanded the program to the camp is the major piece of it, but we're also offering a lot of services during the year, not only to families or the bereaved children, but to the families as well. And we're also being very cognizant of what are the other needs that are out there in the community. So we have created a group for men who've experienced loss. What About Me? It's called WHAM. We have created a group called WAY, Widowed and Young, women who are parents, single parents and widowed, and they're very, very special initiatives. And we've also started to do some training. So we're offering yearly seminars and webinars for professionals, teachers, mental health professionals, so that we can put this whole topic of grief on the table and out there. And that, I think, ultimately, when we start to talk about it publicly, then we're also helping families normalize the process. So this is something that's really important to Myra's Kids Foundation and the work we do.
You talk about normalize, and Jon mentioned that as well way back in his day. Normalize, it wasn't normal. You sort of just put it under the rug and didn't talk about things. And good on both of you and the organization for doing what you're doing. Jon, we have a lot to cover. We do have to head out to traffic, but we want to talk about, you were rolling along, and then in 2019, you've got this Ignite event, which we're going to talk about, very, very successful. And then the pandemic happened. And like you and many other organizations, everything got turned upside down. So we want to hear how you went about that and why you felt it was time to jump back into it, because you've got a wonderful event coming up soon. And we want to hear how what your thought process was to get things going again. But first, we have to head out to the CJAD Traffic Center, and we're going to hear from Mark Shaloub.
Welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. I'm Corrie Sirotto with my co-host, Matt Del Vecchio, and we are talking to founder and CEO of Myra's Kids Foundation, Jon Reider, and my partner in crime, of course. But we're talking about creative fundraising when people are gathering and masks are coming off. So, Jon, what in the world made you feel you were ready to go back to in-person events, and were there any concerns?
So there were lots of concerns, Corrie. As you know, it was really a back and forth, and we were trying to figure out when is the right time to go back to an in-person type of fundraising event. There was no planning guide for how to fundraise through a pandemic, and there was also no guide as to when you go back in-person fundraising. So it was definitely a very difficult decision. We had a lot of discussions with our board, but we felt that the need to see people again, but we felt the need to do it in a very safe environment, and also to make sure that we were respecting everyone's concerns about post-COVID, no mask situation. So we're very, very fortunate in Montreal. And, I saw this space last year. It's called Jardin Royal Mount. And it's a beautiful outdoor space. And that was the right spot for us to design an event that would take place out of doors. People could still wear masks if they wanted, but the important thing was to get back on track with doing fundraising events. Every fundraising organization, every not-for-profit has had to deal with 2 very tough years. We've been very fortunate. We have a very strong base of support, so they continue to support us through the pandemic.